Hey, what's up? This is John with the band Skillet. You are watching Metalshop TV. That's a good name for a show. Right, okay, yes, yeah, I love Prague. And I don't even really know why, you know? It's just, I mean, part of it is just the architecture is just amazing. In America, obviously, we're not a very old country, you know, so we don't have this. So when you see it, it sort of feels like you're in a whole nother world. It's just beautiful, you know, it's just absolutely beautiful. I like the people as well, you know, I tend to really like people this is considered Eastern Europe, right? Would you call it Eastern Europe? Czech Republic and Hungary, Poland, and even Russia. When we've gone to Russia, there's a real generosity. People are very, very generous, and I really like that. It's very humble and big-hearted. So I think, so I don't know if I have any particular story that's amazing. It's just, you know, it's just an amazing place. And I also got to be here with my kids, because my kids tour with me. Because of course my wife plays in Skillet, so you know, we got to be here for a day off when my kids were small, you know, and we went over the bridge and we did all the stuff. It was just amazing. My kids loved it, you know. Oh yes, yes. People are very passionate about that. Yes, had it yesterday, and had it several years ago as well. Yeah. I really wish I knew the answer, because if I knew the answer, I could maybe do it again. It'd be nice to have two songs that big. You know, I really don't know. It was just, we never expected it. I mean, I remember we wrote it, and I mean, I thought when you write songs, you always think they're good. If you didn't think they were good, you wouldn't play them for anybody. So you're like, hey, it's really cool. And you know, some of your friends are like, no, that's not good at all. But this one, I thought, this is really good. And I gave it, and the record label was like, yeah, it's all right. You know, it's fine. And so I was like, man, I really thought that was a good song. And so for a while, we weren't even sure if it would be the first radio single. So no one really knew. You know, I think it's catchy. I mean, it's maybe even annoyingly catchy. You know, it sticks in your head, you know. I think that's part of it. It's just simple. And, but I also think maybe the one thing I would probably say is I think that everybody can relate to it. No matter who you are, no matter what country you come from, no matter what you believe, religion or politics or whatever, everybody relates to, sometimes I don't act like the person I want to be. You know, I'm mean to my friends, I treat my wife poorly, or I treat my kids poorly, I had a bad day, or I'm angry and you don't want to be angry. Who knows? Whatever your addiction is another great example of this. So everybody can relate to, sometimes I feel like a monster. I really don't want to, but it's what makes us human, you know? Yeah. Great question. I'll answer the second part first. You know, I was very, very surprised that The Resistance was a fan favorite. And again, you know, I liked the song, but it almost didn't make the record. And that's why it's the last song on the album. And I really liked it. And so it was the fans. It was the fan reaction that ended up making the song big, because it wasn't going to be released. And I said to the label, the fans love this song, because we were playing it live, and I was like, the fans really like this tune, man. And we ended up releasing it, and it became a pretty big song for us. So that was kind of cool and kind of surprising. Usually if there's a song that I thought that's going to be a hit, it's usually not. You know, maybe Hero. I thought this is a really good song, and but typically I'll go, man, that's going to be a good one, and then people will be like, yeah, it's all right. So you never know. It's really hard as the songwriter. It's sort of like having kids. When you have kids, you think they're good at everything because they're your kids. You're like, they're the best, and then sometimes because they're yours, you think they can't do anything wrong because you love them so much. Yes. I think that's what people relate to Skillet with the most. And what I'm referring to is finding light in the darkness. We just did a meet and greet upstairs, and somebody came through and she showed me her arms, and she had scars on her arms where she had tried to commit suicide or cutting all up and down her arms. She said, your music gave me hope. So I don't think it's necessarily all religious people that relate to Skillet. There's lots of non-religious people that relate to Skillet. I think what we sing about a lot is light in the darkness, because I want people to feel with my music what I felt with rock music when I was growing up. My mom died when I was 15 years old, and it was hard. I was fighting with my dad. I didn't think I'd ever be happy again. Music is very healing. It makes you feel better. It makes you feel not alone. You go in your room at night, and of course I'm showing my age here because there was no cell phones back then. I wasn't texting my friends. There were no phones. Nobody to talk to. And so you'd listen to music, and music would make you feel not alone. And so I think that's what people relate to with Skillet. Whether they're religious or not religious, they find hope. For me, light in the darkness is very important, and my faith is very important, because that is part of that light. It is true light that gives me power to defeat the darkness, defeat my monster, if you will. And so the last few years, we've needed that. We've really, really needed that, because people have been so isolated and so lonely and so sad. In America, our president just released they're saying there's a new epidemic, and they say it's an epidemic of loneliness. And we're like, yeah, that's right. That's what happens when you lock everybody up in your house for 2 years. It's very, very lonely, and people need hope. So that's very important to me. Another day at the office of rock. It's a great job, Yeah, no, I'll play anywhere, One of the things I really like, and not everybody agrees on this, but I kind of wish they did. I think that music brings people together. And so I'm a very big believer in talking with people that don't agree with me, don't believe the same things that I believe, and I love that. So I love going to play Hellfest and playing with bands that may or may not, I don't know what they believe, and I don't really care. It's music that brings people together, and that's what we're here for. I get a chance to perform and be myself, be authentic, and be real, play my music. And so I'll go and play anywhere, And I actually think, if you don't mind me saying, I think the world would be better if we could do that and say, hey, I might not like what you're saying, but I support your right to say it. Let's be friends. Okay. Let's be friends, man. That rock and roll. Yes, touring marriage can be hard. Just ask her. If she's in another room, you can go ask her. She'll be like, yeah, it's hard. It's wonderful. You're together all the time. You get to go and see Prague and eat tirdanini. What's it called? Tedelenik. I can't say it, but you know what I'm talking about. That's amazing, you know, and my kids get to do it. It's so great. But it can be really difficult because you're confined in these small spaces with all the band, all the crew, your kids. There's like 12 people all in one bus and area, and that can be very difficult. You have to learn how to disagree in front of other people. So it is very hard. I think it works with us because we both are passionate about the music, and we believe in why we do it, and we are not. I'll tell you what else would be very difficult. It's not for us because of our personalities. It'd be really hard if there was a lot of pride. So you know, like the Beatles. You know, you read about the Beatles and you find out John Lennon and Paul McCartney, and they're all arguing because I want my song to get chosen. I need to sing the song. There's all this pride. That would be really difficult if you were in a band with a spouse with that kind of pride. But I think with us, we're just not like that. It's like, no, we want things to be the best they can be, and let's make it. So I think there's something about us that's unique that makes that work. The message of dominion, I think, is really poignant for the last few years. Dominion is a word that can just mean authority or, you know, rule, you know, taking rule over something. We had COVID, and it was such a weird time, right? The entire world is experiencing something together, which hasn't ever happened in my lifetime. The entire world is all going through something at the same time, and what I saw were people that were so very, very afraid. And I knew people personally who went back into drugs, went to alcohol, you know, became very sick. I know someone whose son committed suicide during that time. People got divorced. It was such a sad time. I wanted to write an album that was saying, look, you cannot take rule over COVID. You can't control COVID, and you can't control your government. You can't control all these things, and that's the way it is. But you can control your heart. You know, the way your anxiety, the way you are getting through this. And I wanted to tell people, take rule over your mind, take rule over your actions, and know there's light at the end of the tunnel. You know that expression, light at the end of the tunnel. There is hope. There's light in the darkness. We don't know how long it's going to take till we get there, but we will get there. So let's all be in this together. Take dominion. So throughout the record, there's a lot of references to fear, you know, not giving in to fear. And I want to encourage people to be strong, you know. Even if you don't feel strong, you can be strong. And even if you don't feel strong, you might need to be strong for someone else, for your kids, for your spouse, etc. All right, one and done? You know, I actually don't know the answer to that. I was always hoping to do more. And then I think COVID kind of, it just kind of shut it down. It's hard to explain. It's almost like, probably because what I was thinking was you would do Skillet and then Fight the Fury and Skillet, and then COVID happened. And then everything shut down. And I was like, well, what are we going to do now? So I do hope in the future, you know, nobody knows the future, but I do hope to do another Fight the Fury project because there are some fans out there that enjoyed it, and I thought it was quite fun. I do remember my first let's see. Yes, I was nervous. I was about 16 years old, and I was playing in my first band, and we were playing, you know, cover song. We were playing, you know, what cover songs are, other people's music, Van Halen, Metallica, Bon Jovi. And the difficult thing is that in that era of music in the 80s, all of the singers sang really high, right? They all sing really, really high. And I just couldn't hardly sing any of it, but people were like, no, you sound good. They thought I was a good singer, whether I could hit the notes or not. So sometimes I'd have to change, the parts and whatnot. So I was very, very nervous, and it went okay. It was fun. That's all that. It was a lot of fun. I don't know if I did a very good job. But then, as you know, Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains, it shifted music. And then all of a sudden my voice was in the range, because those bands didn't sing really high either. So they kind of saved me. So I have to thank all of them, because I could never sing Bon Jovi. It's just too high. I was very nervous. I don't get nervous anymore, but I used to for those bands for that time. Oh, I was so nervous, yeah. Let's see. I probably will say this. I don't know if you can see. Can you see that right there? Forgiven. That was my first tattoo. And my friend said, as soon as you get one, you're going to want to get a whole bunch. And I was like, oh, no, I won't. I don't think so. And then they were right. When I got one, I was like, oh, now I need more. But Forgiven was my first tattoo. I think it's my favorite because that is a message of starting over, getting a second chance, and second chance at life. The thing, we talked about earlier, that monster, the person you don't want to be, the things you've done wrong, and being forgiven for that. That's a spiritual, belief of mine, but it's also a belief that has to do with not just, spiritual, meaning me and God, but with my fellow men and women, that if God forgives me, I forgive you, right? And whether you ask for forgiveness or not, whether you deserve forgiveness or not, whether you're going to continue to do bad things to me or not, I am supposed to forgive you. That's what love is, which is very difficult. That is very, very difficult. So I'm not saying that I do it very well, but that is what I'm supposed to do, and that's what I try to do. I really love working with young people. And I say young people, I'd say, ages, teenagers, 13 to 20, 21. I like working with teenagers, probably because that was the hard time of my life, as I shared earlier. That's when my mom died. That's when I was fighting with my dad. My hardest times in my life, also just being angry. Lots of people, especially men, remember those times. You're growing up, you feel angry, you don't know why. And sometimes you need a parent, a father, an older brother, or a mentor, somebody to help guide you. I like that. And I would like to do, if I wasn't doing music, I think I'd like to do something like that. You could do that maybe at a church or in a social institution, to where, after school, in America we call them after school programs. I don't know if you know what I mean. Kids can come and play basketball. Do you have basketball here? Okay, yeah, I love basketball. Basketball or soccer or football, whatever. Come and play, and so young people have a place to go where they're cared for, and then you teach them responsibility, you teach them virtues, you teach them to forgive other people. You teach them these things that make them better humans, and teach them how to love people that don't agree with them, and to be patient with one another. Young people need that, and I think in America, I don't know what it's like here. In America, our country is falling apart. All of our social institutions are crumbling, and there's not communication between people that believe different things, and young people are just, the English word is rudderless, like a rudder on they don't know where to go. They don't know what to do. And we really need that right now. So if Skillet ever stops, maybe I'll start a social institution. We'll play football, and we'll make that happen.
Okay.
And we'll play metal.
Yeah.
We will play lots of metal while they play soccer. We'll play Metallica, and they can go run around and play soccer.